and Iran has retaliated as well. Did you get that sense when you were speaking to the foreign minister?
Well, the foreign minister himself, Maria, had said that when I asked him about the negotiations and that he's going into talks, he himself said that we are going into talks, but we do not trust America, because last time around during the 12-day war, they were in the midst of negotiations when America attacked. So he said, you never know what they're going to do next. And over here, the talks concluded. They decided on the next round of talks to be held in Vienna, and lo and behold, America has struck, particularly Israel and America have struck Iran yet again. So this is, and what's different over here, Maria, is that last time around it was almost a covert operation, but this time around, yes, it's an all-out war. President Trump has come out and made that statement saying that we are going to ensure that the regime is toppled. So the sense that we got, and when we were going into Iran, we were very clear of the window that we have. And that was the real window for us. Our interview got confirmed really only a few days before we had to travel, and which was huge. But the window was just that. Prime Minister Narendra Modi in Israel, the fact that the strikes are not going to happen around that time, and we had to leave before the weekend. So people had anticipated that something is going to happen, but we did not think when the talks took a positive turn, Maria, we didn't think that America would do this yet again.
So what was the indication? And I'll ask the producer to take that chunk out of Geeta's interview where she had asked that specific question, that are you sensing war? And the response that came in from the foreign minister. But Geeta, let's go back to that point where you said that there was an indication that it had taken a positive turn. When was that positive turn? Well, and what was giving Iranians hope that perhaps this war will not happen?
Well, it was Thursday and Friday when he was there and the talks had begun in Geneva. And then once the talks concluded, the announcement happened that the next round of talks are going to take place in Vienna. So we thought, okay. And a lot of people that we were talking to and asking, we said, okay, is there going to be a war or not? And quite a few of them, like Foreign Minister Araghchi, said that, well, just because talks are on and they're moving towards another round does not mean that we should be trusting America, and that no matter when, there is going to be a war, that don't expect a deal to happen anytime soon. So I think a lot of them on the ground were quite prepared, or are quite prepared, that that with America, it is not going to be, and till the time it is America and Israel, it is not going to be a conversation and engagement where they are looking at a sensible outcome. They're looking at toppling the regime, and they're very clear. Tehran is very clear of that motive, that intent of Israel and that intent of America. So yes.
And the intent is regime change.
Yes, absolutely.
So who after the present ruler is the question that I'm going to ask Geeta next. But before that, let's play a chunk of that interview. Remember, the timing could not have been more newsworthy. And that's why it was picked up by all major news networks across the world, where Geeta spoke to the Foreign Minister Araghchi.
There is only one entity in this region who wants war, and that is Israel. It's the fact that Israel is trying to drag the United States into war with Iran. They cannot do it by themselves. They tried it and they failed, and they asked the US to help them. And now I believe that this is an Israeli plot to drag the United States into war in this region.
Would you make a distinction between Israel and Netanyahu?
For the time being, no. He is the Prime Minister of Israel. He is the man who decides for Israel. So this is a disastrous plan by Israelis. They want to perhaps establish their hegemony to the region, which is not going to happen. But we are seeing, there are many indications that it is them who are trying to drag President Trump to war with Iran, which would be very unfortunate against the Americans' interests if they do that.
Geeta, let's talk about what after the plan that the US and Israel has of a potential regime change. Will Iran's present leadership give in? And given the clampdown that we saw just a few weeks ago of the protests that were there on the streets of Iran and Tehran in particular, is regime change a possibility?
Well, it's going to be very difficult. Iran is not, and if it is only about targeting, I see Sushant is also with us, so we should also bring him in and ask him to weigh in. But the fact is that it's going to be very difficult, Maria, and I say this is because Iran, if America thinks getting rid of Ayatollah Khamenei means getting rid of the regime, then they're highly mistaken. That's not the calculation. Iran has plans of and a process in place for putting up a leadership at in every sector, so to say, not just the clergy, but the defense, the Security Council, the administration, all of them, they have a system in place. They have a second line of command, a third line of command. They have all that planned already. Why do they have that planned? One, because it's a system that has been in place for decades. But secondly, because of the situation on the ground. They know that should something happen, should there be attacks, and the fact that many of the top leadership, military leadership, have been assassinated. These are not assassination plots anymore, Maria. They're being assassinated. And once that happened, they realized that they need to have a second, third, fourth, line of officers and officials to take over any position that goes vacant because of the individual having been killed. Okay. Having said that, this is, what we are seeing today is an all-out war that could cost the entire region and the world very, very dearly. You're looking at Iran's response as Foreign Minister Araghchi very clearly had said. He said, we're hoping for, if there is war, God forbid, they're prepared, but they're seeking peace. And if there is war, they don't need any missile that reaches America. They just need missiles under the 2,000-kilometer cap that they have to reach all the US bases, which, while you were reporting, you were saying it, exactly is what is happening right now. They're looking at Bahrain, Oman, the UAE, Saudi Arabia, all of these countries and the US bases there. Yes. So the strategy is to ensure that there's a cost to the attack on Iran. Okay. And the only thing that Iran has to think is sustenance up to a point where the global economy feels the pinch of an economic crisis for the international community, then to come and say to ramp off on the escalation. Okay,
Sushant, Sareen, weigh in on this. The end game here.
Maria, let me just start by saying that when you brought Geeta onto your show, it was almost like you blamed her for starting the war by interviewing the Indian foreign minister. I'm sure Geeta is blameless for what happened, despite a fabulous interview that she did. But look, I think it's difficult to predict what the end game is going to be. And I'll tell you the reason why. That I agree that regime change is not going to be that easy. It's also because even if this regime is unpopular, it has a significant amount of support within Iran. It has its constituency. Okay, even if you were to ignore that, look, my point is that what might happen is even worse. That the military offensive against Iran could actually seriously degrade the entire security structure in Iran, even if it does not affect a regime change from within. And what that means is that you destroy the Iranian military, you destroy the Iranian security services, the navy, the air force hardly exists. And you have weakened the state to a point where you can then unleash all kinds of other forces in Iran, which means that you're looking at severe destabilization in Iran, separatist movements taking off, all kinds of other things. To my mind, that would be the worst case scenario, because that would spread the instability not just in Iran but around the region. And I think that is something which scares many countries in the region. That is one part of it. The other part of it is that, as far as the end game is concerned, look, war is very unpredictable. I remember when the Ukraine thing started, there were people in India who were saying that we have gamed it all. Within 10 days, the
Yes.
Russians will occupy the all of Ukraine. It's like 4 years and they're nowhere closer to the end of war, 4 or 5 years, whatever. So the point is, it's very, very dicey business. And we have a general sitting with us. He'll tell you that all these very fancy plans that everybody has gamed and made, they last the first missile shot and the first, soldier on the ground.
Exactly.
Moment you move in. After that, everything is you make it up as you go forward.
Okay.
So say that there is some kind of an end game. How exactly this will play out?
So,
For all
Shant,
you
in
know,
fact, US President Donald Trump has spoken to a local media and he has said that main concern is freedom for the Iranian people as the US launched military strikes in the country. He has said, and I'm quoting him, "I want a safe nation, and that's what we are going to have." The president has said this is his first reportable remark since announcing the major combat operation in that video message, which came in around 2:30 a.m. So US President Donald Trump saying that he wants a safe nation, and that's what we are going to have. Geeta, you were there in Tehran. Let me go back to that question. How safe was it when you were present there for those 48 hours?
Well, it seemed quite safe. It didn't seem like there is going to be, or it's a country in conflict, or even a country under sanctions, Maria, and that's the reporting that we did. A lot of people questioned why did I have my head covered when I was interviewing the foreign minister. We follow protocols. I'm a journalist. If I go to Afghanistan, I fight for women's rights on Indian soil, and I will continue doing that. But if I have to go report from Afghanistan, I will have to cover my head, as I had to when I conducted that interview. But when I was in Tehran and we were reporting from Tehran, I did not wear a veil. I was not covering my head. I did not cover my head in Tehran, in the city, when we were reporting. So it did feel normal. But I do see a change within Iran. I see that the moral policing has gone down hugely. I was there in 2012 for the NAM summit, and it was very, very strict back then. There was no way that I could wear a 3/4 sleeve and think it's okay to go around the streets of Tehran or not have my head covered. But Tehran has changed because, yes, there has been a pushback and a serious call for reform, and that you're seeing the administration realize. While we talk about myopia of American strategy when it comes to attacking Iran, because they will also not be able to sustain it for long, I suppose the regime also understood the myopia of this kind of enforcement, and I think that was the lowest hanging fruit that they could give in on, and that's why they're not as strict in Tehran and in the cities as they used to be, and you will see women not.
I'm going to actually play that conversation, Geeta, and your report from Tehran, and this is February 26th that Geeta was reporting from Tehran. Let's listen in to what she got for us from Ground Zero, Tehran.
My team and I, we are absolutely amazed at the beauty of this structure, the beauty of this place. But that's not all.
I said this is cucumber and mint sharbat, and that is saffron tea with baklava.
Okay, so I'm just going to pour the...
Yeah, I just ordered that because it just looks so exciting.
My team and I, we are absolutely amazed at the beauty of this structure, the beauty of this place. But that's not all.
I said this is cucumber and mint sharbat, and that is saffron tea with baklava.
Okay, so I'm just going to pour the...
Yeah, I just ordered that because it just looks...
All right. So, Geeta, word on that report quickly before we bring in the new set of guests as you continue to be with us. That's a beautiful library that you got for the visuals of.
I can't tell you how amazing the city of Tehran, but anybody who knows Iran and who's studied the region, Sushant particularly, would know that they're a lot into culture, into reading. They have the best poets of the world, authors, and some of the best cinema as well. But yes, it was a very restrictive society, and I see a huge change. I see it opening up. There still needs to be a lot that needs to be done. We asked the foreign minister that, you know, most of your isolation is also because you have been rather oppressive and you should be looking at reforms. We asked that question, and he did say that they are looking at reforms. Masood Pezeshkian, who also came under attack or is one of the main targets, is actually a reformist in Iran. Having said that, should foreign interference be allowed for a country's government to change for the better is something that the international community will have to look and answer.
Absolutely.
Because there are so many other countries, I'm not going to name them, Maria, but there's so many countries who are American allies and where women's rights are questionable. Rather, the enforcement of hijab or the enforcement of veils are quite prevalent in many of those other countries that are strategic partners of the United States of America. And America doesn't seem to have a problem with that.
So Shant wants
So
to
it's
come in as
defiance,
well.
I think that's a problem. Defying America.
Yes.
I agree with the point that Geeta is making. Even if there is an egregious system in any particular country, I think there are ways and means of trying to pressure them into reforms rather than invading them or attacking them. Because if you look at the United States or many of the countries of Western Europe, the kind of wokeness and nonsensical gender policies and transgender policies where 5-year-old kids were being made to change their sex because, you know, some small kid suddenly thought he's a girl or a boy. It's madness what is happening out there. So should somebody start invading them, bombing the hell out of them because they have such bizarre policies? So I think there are self-correcting mechanisms in every society. In some societies it
Yes,
takes time, in other
I agree.
societies it doesn't. So I think we
Yes.
need to be very careful about going and bombing the hell out of a particular country because you don't like the system out there.
Absolutely. I agree with you, Sushant Sareen. Major General Sanjay Mestron, thank you for joining us. Thank you, Sushant.